Hello and a hearty welcome to all my students. This is Ajit Anthony, teacher at Mount Litra Z School Jhansi. In this video, we will discuss some of the topics for chapter number 4. So without wasting any time, let's begin. The very first topic that we are going to discuss today is the solubility, that is the soluble substance and the insoluble substance. In my previous video I have already discussed about the property, that is solubility, and other properties I have already discussed in my previous video. If you have not watched that video, I would highly recommend you all to kindly watch that video so that you will understand the concept quite easily and all the concept will be clear to you all quite comfortably. So without wasting any time, let's start with the today's topic. Substances that dissolves in water are said to be soluble substances. Substances do not dissolve in water are known as insoluble substances. As we all know that there are number of objects or materials near or around to us. Some are soluble in water while other substances are there, or some substances are also there which are insoluble in water. So according to the solubility of the substances in water, we can characterize the substance into two categories, that are soluble substance are those substances which are soluble in water, whereas insoluble substance that are insoluble in water. So coming to the next topic that we are going to discuss, that is water or the solids which are soluble in water. As there are some solids which are soluble in water like sugar, common salt, washing soda, and other metal salts are there which are soluble in water, means they all are solid in room temperature but still they are soluble in water. Water insoluble solids like some solid soluble some materials are there. Same goes for the solids which are insoluble in the water like mud, stone, plastic, etc. Now we will discuss some of the liquids which are soluble in water. As we all know that there are number of types of liquids are there. Some liquids are soluble in water like sugar syrup, while some liquids are there which are insoluble in water like oil. We will discuss over here what type of that liquids are called and what are their names we can give them, or what is the name of the particular type of liquids. If the two types of liquids are dissolved into one another and with the no layer can be seen, that type of liquids are called what are miscible liquids. Always remember one thing, when the liquids or when two or more liquids are dissolved into one another and the liquids are soluble into one another, they are called miscible liquid. Other name for the miscible liquid is the homogeneous mixture. Whereas on the other hand, there are some liquids which are insoluble in water or which do not dissolve into one another. They form two layers, or the two layers can be seen called immiscible liquids. The other name for the immiscible liquids are heterogeneous mixture. Same we have discussed with the solids and liquid. There are some gases which are soluble in water and there are some gases which are insoluble in water. The another topic that we are going to discuss is flotation. Flotation is that property by which we can easily differentiate a material which will either float on water or sink in water. Always remember one thing, that this property, whether the material will float on water or not, or whether they will sink in water or not, is based on the weight of the material. It doesn't matter whether the size of the material is big or huge or humongous. The property or the condition always matters about the weight of the material. If the material weight is more than the weight of the water, then the material will sink in water, whereas on the other hand, if the material weight is less than the water weight, then the material will float on water. Just see what the paragraph is telling us. We can also group material on whether they float or sink in water. The property of the material to float on the surface of the water is known as flotation. Substances which are heavier than water sinks in it, whereas substances which are lighter than water float. Example: wax, plastic ball and leaf float on the surface of the water, while stones and metal block sink in water or sink in it. That means the material, or all those material whose weight is more than the weight of the water, the material will not float, they will sink in water. Whereas on the other hand, all those material whose weight is less than the water weight, the material will float on water. The example of the material which will float on the water is plastic or plastic ball, wax, leaf. Even wood are also there as the example, or can be considered as the example for the object which will float on water. Whereas the example of the material which will not float on water is stone, metal block. Other example are also there, or the materials are there which will not float or float in on water, because the weight of the material is more than the weight of the water. The another topic that we are going to discuss is magnetic and non-magnetic material. As we all have played with the magnets, and we have noticed that some materials get attracted by the magnets, while some magnets or some materials are not get attracted by the magnets. So accordingly we can characterize the substance. Those who get attracted by the magnet are called magnetic materials, while those who are not get attracted by the magnet are called non-magnetic materials. Let's see. Materials that are attracted towards a magnet are known as magnetic substance, that we have already discussed just now. Materials that remain unaffected by the presence of magnet near are non-magnetic materials. Iron and magnetite are the magnetic material, while plastic, cotton, rubber, wood and paper are the examples of non-magnetic material. That means with the help of the magnet, or according to the magnetic property, whether the material is getting attracted by the magnet or not, we can easily characterize, or we can easily differentiate the material, whether the material is magnetic or non-magnetic in nature. The another topic that we are going to discuss today is the conduction of heat. Conduction occurs when two objects at different temperatures are in contact with one another. Heat flows from warm to a cooler object until they both are at the same temperature. Metals are very good conductors of heat, while air is a poor conductor of heat. You experience heat transfer by conduction whenever you touch something that is hotter or cooler than your skin. So the conduction of heat, or according to the conduction of heat, we always should understand that there are the conduction of heat occurs between the two objects of different temperature, which is written over here, between the two objects at different temperature when they are in contact with one another. So how the heat will flow? The heat will always flow from higher temperature body to a lower temperature body, until when the temperature or the heat will continue to flow till both the body temperature will be equal. Till then the heat will be continually flowing from the body, which is the higher temperature body, to a lower temperature body. Now we will discuss conduction of electricity. As we all know, there are some materials which allow electricity to pass through them. Those materials are called conductors. As we can see the definition for the conductors, material that allow electricity to pass through them are called conductors. Always, or there are many examples for the conductors, like copper, silver, gold and aluminium, out of which copper is most popular material, which is used as the wire, as it is the good conductor of heat and electricity. The opposite of the conductor is the insulators. Insulators are those materials which do not allow heat or electricity to pass through them. Example for the insulators are plastic, cotton, thermocol, wood, rubber, etc. These are all materials which do not allow heat or electricity to pass through them, whereas conductors are those materials which allow heat and electricity to pass through them. Hope you all have enjoyed this session. Thank you.